the North was about to lose its tariff money. It had just lost the income it generated through the domestic slave trade, and was no longer benefiting from the Atlantic slave trade. So in 1861, Abraham Lincoln created the federal income tax. Any worker earning over $800 would be required to pay the Union government. At the time, Northern factory workers earned only $450 per year, and would still earn less than $750 as late as 1920. So who would pay taxes as a wage earner? Southern blacks. If Lincoln had actually freed the slaves, and allowed them to migrate into northern states, he would have to pay them before he could tax them. Plus they would have to earn nearly twice as much as the average factory worker, just to be taxed. So he intended to keep black people in the South, so he could tax them without having to pay them. Lincoln's plan was to rename the slaves sharecroppers, and allocate 1/3 of a plantation's earnings as their share. Allow me to reveal the math. A typical plantation made $150,000 per year selling cotton. 1/3 of that, or $50,000, would be listed as the workers' share. If a plantation had 50 slaves, that comes to $1,000 per man. This easily surpasses the $800 minimum required to pay the federal income tax. The federal government needed to label Southern blacks sharecroppers to burden them with the new taxes, so Lincoln began a strong campaign to free the slaves. By spreading propaganda, he would gain emotional support for his apparently humanitarian effort. With the help of Uncle Tom's Cabin, a book of fiction, Lincoln accused Southerners of abusing black people. The North began to circulate political cartoons, showing slaves cowering in fear, while white plantation owners stood over them, cracking whips. It's doubtful that cracking whips would be an effective means of controlling an entire population. If it were true, then riot police are wasting money on rubber bullets and pepper spray. All they would need to do is crack a whip, and the crowd would disperse. But in real life, the whip cracker would probably be attacked, which proves my point. Those stories of abuse had to be false. What's amazing is, once the Civil War was over, all of the tales of abuse suddenly disappeared. Why? If you can whip a slave, you can whip a sharecropper. But we don't hear stories of sharecroppers being whipped. The fact is, it was all a political campaign, which still influences people's attitudes today.